So this is where I get myself into some trouble. You guys know who I am, ETTemplar, Supreme Misfit Professional Dipshit. So as a final fuck you to the American people, Joe Biden has again decided to send another 1.7 billion lethal aid package to Ukraine. So of course, it's unbelievable, and the fact that Ukraine and NATO think Ukraine can defeat Russia is so fucking baffling to me. Let's look at history, right? And I know this is like Lithuanians and Polish, maybe, but I think he fought Russians too. So Carolus Rex once invaded to the east, and he went pretty far until he caught a cannonball to the back of the head. So they had to start a long march back through the dead of winter. A lot of people froze to death. You had Napoleon thought he could take on the Russians because they, and I think 2 out of every 12 Frenchmen came back. There's people freezing to death. And here's a story of they had engineers that were building bridges. Maybe it was the Volga or it was one of the rivers. But men were literally freezing to death constructing a bridge in that frigid, ice-cold hell. They were freezing to death and working on a bridge so they could escape. So 2 out of every 12, I think, came back. So that leaves 10 dying to disease or combat or dysentery or whatever you like. And not only that, you had Adolf Hitler also thinking the same thing. Oh, these Russian savages, these barbarians, we can steamroll them with all of our tanks and infantry and artillery and fucking planes. You know how that one worked out? The Russians burnt half their country. And when the winter came in, they just threw so many people at the German meat grinder war machine that it clogged the gears of the meat machine. So this also, there's a quote that I love so much from StarCraft.
You must go into this with both eyes open. Once started, there's no going back. Are you prepared to go all the way with this, Alexei?
Yes. Yes, I am prepared to go all the way, my good Admiral.
Good. Good. I knew I could count on you.
Admiral. So, it's just with that metaphor from StarCraft, it doesn't matter how much money you can throw at them. The Russians are 100% dedicated to defeating you. Ukraine picked a fight with one of the worst nations you could ever choose to pick a fight with, aside from the United fucking States. And the fact that anyone can think that Ukraine can defeat these guys. And here's I'm going to give you guys a rare viewpoint because no one, this is a side that's not told. And when I'm telling this viewpoint, this is from the viewpoint of the Russians. This is not my sole viewpoint. This is just from what I've gathered and from what I've read. So this starts off, I think, in 2009. So 2005, 2009, when Barack Obama is in office and when Zelensky comes to power. So this is from their viewpoint. Zelensky has banned the Russian language. So a language you use, it'd be like the equivalent of someone in Washington, D.C. banning Southern dialects, right? Or ways of speaking. You would kind of take that as okay, that's fuck you. Fine, we'll just talk it in private. But so he outlaws the Slavic language, which regardless of your opinion, the Russian language, that's kind of like a big dictatorial authoritarian thing, don't you think? So not only that, he starts, a fight breaks out in Donetsk and Luhansk between paramilitaries, maybe Russian-backed and Russian-supported, against the Ukrainian military. The Ukrainian military also hits back hard. So this is early 2009, 2012, right? So this was already going on long before people even gave a shit about Ukraine or Russia. So, and not only that, Ukraine leading up to and after the start of the war has been banning or expelling Russian Orthodox bishops just because they don't have an opinion about Vladimir Putin. They also do fucked up shit like turn off electricity and power to Russian Orthodox churches. They close Russian Orthodox churches. Regardless of your opinion, and even if it's in the name of democracy, a transgression and trespass against the kingdom of heaven, in my opinion, is a fucking egregious sin against the ruling government. And of course, this is Zelensky. This is the big democratic loving guy that's gonna fight for the Ukrainian. It's absolutely horseshit. Not only that, when you suspend elections, that kind of seems authoritarian and dictatorial to me. I don't know about you guys, but there's people in the West. One of Arch's friends, a big YouTuber, even said, "Oh, they're at a wartime, and this is justified." So you mean to tell me if Joe Biden right now was to declare himself king and suspend the elections, that you can't tell me that a little bit of skerfuffle and issue would be had with that? Let's take this on the other side, huh? Let's say Trump gets elected in 4 years and then he says he's going to suspend elections. Would you fuckers think that would be for the democratic purpose? No, you'd be out there with streets and pitchforks. Like, okay. So from the Russian angle, you have the people of Donetsk and Luhansk. Okay, yeah, they're in Ukraine, but they have sovereignty within their states to choose to be independent or not, or if they want to join Russia or not. And people always take issue with, Russian ethnics in their country. It's happening in Estonia. Now, to me, prior, I think Donetsk and Luhansk, if I'm not mistaken, I think Khrushchev was a coal miner from Ukraine somewhere. So in that point, as long as Russians have it established like ethnic proof of like more than 100 years, I would say they have a right to their domain if they want to join Russia or not. Let them join Russia or not, or be independent if they want. So, and not only that, we have the continued war crimes committed. Again, this is Russia's, in some of my opinion, against people in Donetsk, Luhansk. Civilians have been killed in missile artillery strikes, but the West doesn't report this because Russian man bad, and Ukraine's fighting for all democracy. Give them your fucking money. And not only that, to cap this shit Sunday off, to put a cherry on this shit Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, Zelensky, to my knowledge, has bought 2 homes, both at the cost of $20 million. One in London, which was King Charles III's and Camilla's old house. The second one in Florida. So this is a guy who's saying, "Oh, we need more money. Give us more money so we can defeat the Russians." And he's spending this money on houses and cars. I think his wife just bought a $4.55 million Bugatti. And not only that, there's reports of people post-editing ETTemplar here. I said Crimea, which that's not. It's Monaco. I think there's some fancy French fucking villa, Monaco. You know the Iron Man movie where he's racing around and the big bad Russian guy comes out with electro whips? Yeah, Monaco, as in a vacation destination for most of their elites. As most of their people, the countrymen, get torn up by rocket artillery fire, machine gun fire, mortars, fuel air bombs. They're just down there partying it up. Ding, 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 ding. It's so fucking sickening. A lot of yachts that have Ukrainian flags. There's a lot of high-end, expensive sports cars with Ukrainian license plates. So, and there's no accountability for this money. This money is all going to fund the elite lifestyle. So very few of it, if at all, is probably going to military aid, hardware. Probably good section, probably, I don't know, 30% of it's probably going towards it. But meanwhile, the Ukrainian elites, politicians, are giving themselves opulent wealth, while the standard Ukrainian person who gets conscripted or is fighting for their country gets nothing but a shallow fucking grave and a pine box. So with that, that's just my opinion on it. It's amazing that Biden, as a nice final fuck you, would send 1.7 billion in lethal aid to package Ukraine. But again, these people don't understand who they're fucking with. They're fucking with an empire that has not only stood the test of times with barbarians, Vikings, Nazis, kings, and even German knights and kings in the past, Teutonic knights. So these are people who aren't going anywhere. And it's baffling to me that people in NATO and people in the West can't wrap their head around the idea of the sheer resolve of the Russian people. This is just my opinion upon the Russian people and what I've deduced from history and some of the, things I've told you about. These are people who aren't going anywhere willingly, okay? And like I said before, as a memento respect, when God made Slavs, he chiseled them out of the face of the fucking mountain, okay? They're people dedicated to their cause. And sure, the Ukrainians are too, to the point of death, like, God rest their souls. But this is just such a one-sided affair. And Ukraine needs more than just money and weapons. And it's not going to work out. I think I'll be surprised if Zelensky Ukraine is still in this fight by the end or at the start of 2025. But this is just my 2 cents on it. And yeah, more money to Ukraine and Zelensky so they can buy more opulent houses, yachts, expensive sports cars, while veterans remain to be homeless. Veterans remain to not get the health care they fucking need and deserve. Homeless people can remain being homeless and trespassed upon. They can't even be in their camps anymore. You have the fentanyl crisis. You have crumbling infrastructure. You have everything that points to crumbling and collapsing Rome, while we're sending all of our money to a bunch of Ukrainians that fucking hate our guts and don't really give a shit about us. So again, one thing that has me scratching my head is, when did America become the treasure box and the armory for foreign powers to commit war crimes and to commit war upon other groups of people? When did this fucking happen? And why do we even have representatives that we vote for if they only represent foreigners like Israel, Ukraine, and NATO? Again, this is just my own opinion. If you don't like it, you can dislike the video, leave an angry comment. But in my humble opinion, this is all like bullshit, in my honest opinion. Americans should be first. And I think we should care for our own people and fix our own house before we start renovating other people's houses and other countries' houses. And I don't think we should exactly be poking the Russian bear, because if it's one thing history has told me, is that people who poke the bear get mauled to fucking pieces. Anyways, that's it for this rant. See you next time. God bless. Stay happy, stay healthy. And until next time, see you around.